experienced people. If you are having experience, like one of our guy, he mentioned, I think in him, the chat, that he is right now working as a security analyst, network analyst presently. So yeah, it is. He can directly jump to the cybersecurity DevSecOps training. But newcomer, I will always advise to start from scratch, build your fundamental, then move forward with the advanced one. Now, DevOps itself a very good and heavy job market you can consider. And DevOps is become mature, and mostly all of the right now big companies, Forbes 500 companies, they have their own DevOps team, right? Quick note: our DevOps and cybersecurity training evening US batch is going to start from April 4th, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and it will continue for next more or less 2 months. Same go for DevOps and cybersecurity. Two different training, two different. We are lucky enough to have a trainer like Mr. Karthik and Mr. Debasis with us, and this is two different training, but and their starting date is same, 4th April, and it is 7:30 p.m. CST evening. So if you, and it is a limited seat class, because as it is a 80% hands-on, so we cannot take n number of student in one batch. It's have a 10, we can take 10 new students in one batch. You will find few students are repeating the same classes twice or thrice, because this is so well designed for newcomers. Let us know if you have any doubt or question. Yeah, Prasad. Prasad, you raise your hand. Do you, if you have any question, feel free to ask.
One more thing is that people who have done DevOps also find it difficult when they're doing DevSecOps, right? Because the concepts are there. So if you're coming without doing DevOps, it is going to be even more difficult to do DevSecOps. So please note in that, because everything is, we're going to talk about Linux and other services that are there. That is, if you don't have knowledge about DevOps, it is going to be very, very difficult to understand what's been taught in DevSecOps. Please note that.
Sir, timing given on website, is it IST or it's CST?
If you open your the website, you will find your time zone time. So we do have a
But
IP tracking, but it should, you should um, have a, you should show your own time zone.
okay, sir. But sir, when I applied for free training, no, it
Mhm.
was showing 8:30 a.m. But according to IST, it's 7 p.m.
Okay, so uh, it should not, because you should track your IP. Guys, anyone from your from India, can you please cross check and let us know, because this thing have a different pricing based on your IP address. So the VPN is already also blocked, so I cannot check because I am in US. Mr. Devashish, can you check the cybersecurity training in our website? What is the time it is showing? Or Mr. Karthik? Okay, so it is showing how much? 7:30, 7 p.m. or
8 8:30 a.m.
okay, it is showing the CST time. Okay, okay, we need to check.
Yes, sir.
We, wow, because that is showing CST time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you for pointing out this bug. So, Paul, the our job ready training is going to start in April. So we do have two different uh, uh, type of training. One is this free training which you have joined. Another one is our paid training or job ready training. That is like a hand holding thing, and it like fully hands on with working with live project training. So you can consider Peter, it is like a key if you are if even if you don't have any prior knowledge in IT, uh, still you can get and secure a Forbes 500 companies job with only this course. But again, this course is daily 2 hours or 2.5 hours, but you need to invest another 2 hours to like work with your projects, because as I mentioned earlier, this is total hands-on training. So we believe until unless you make your hand dirty with the project work, you cannot learn. So there is a say that if you tell me, I will forget. If you teach me, I will learn. If you involve me, then only I can become a part.
For India part, it is showing correctly.
It is showing 7 a.m.
No, 6 a.m.
Okay, okay. It should be showing 7 a.m. Okay, we need to recheck with this all those timing, because there are so many especially people from Indian continent like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and
But
Africa.
is 6 a.m. not correct?
No, I think it is 8:30 a.m. CST. So it should. So you're talking about the free training or the paid training?
Paid training.
No, no, free
The
training.
evening
The
batch.
cyber
Oh,
internship
acha, acha.
program.
Okay, I have not checked that.
And the people from African continent, few people from European, and most of the people are from US and Canada. Uh, Paul, can you join this group as you mentioned, because this is our job. So most of you have joined our free training group, WhatsApp group. So we do have a separate group for our paid training. And once you have done the training, we do have another group called interview preparation group and job hunting training. So we try to, voluntarily help our people to secure a job, to guide them as a mentor. Because job is the if our student getting the job, that is the I think only way we can you know judge our efforts. Right, guys, please feel free to talk, discuss, like don't hesitate.
Yes, sir.
And all this I am sending you a link, not this one. Just join this group, because the meeting link is not yet sorry, not meeting, the registration link is there, but it's not yet live. I think by this Sunday it will be live, and we are going to update and inform all in this group. Then and with the registration link, so you can register. And it is a first come first serve. We cannot take more. How are you, Ernest?
I'm good, Mr. Menon. How are you?
I'm doing
Uh,
good. I'm doing good.
I'm good. I was just wondering if Mr. Katik was still on the line. I just want to ask him. It was just some homework that he gave me. I cannot really directly, but it's something that he made me think about. In terms of what the UK did to Apple. I just wanted to ask just a small question.
Whom? Mr. Karthik or Mr. Devashish?
Mr. Kartik.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
can
tell
deal
us.
it.
Okay. On the previous session, like you spoke about the UK getting winning a case or motion over Apple in terms of them lifting this data encryption that they have in their devices.
Yes.
I was wondering if does that mean that the previous layers that they had on the data encryption, meaning that like tools like Syllabit and I forgot this other one. Is it Gray something something? Were those devices? I mean, those tools. Does it mean that those tools are not working in terms of them extracting information and bypassing the security measures?
See, when it comes to national security, way it works is different because it may be possible for the top tier security teams which are there for the national security. They will always find a way to, get information out and bypass security and works on that, right? So they will not disclose all those information out there. So whatever it might have been right now, the reducing the security to overcome, maybe for the mid tier and something which is there for them to be able to decrypt it. So because one of their main concerns, the reasoning behind that is also going to be is there needs to be reducing the whatever the encryption that is there will not be compromised by normal entity. You will need an a state entity to be able to decrypt that information, right? So previously, they even for a state entity, it might have been difficult to disclose information because main reason it may be used in anti-terrorism operations where they got hold of a mobile device belonging to a terrorist entity that they want to disclose what information is available out there. So it becomes a bit more difficult, right? I think there was uh, so there's always a reasoning for that. The way the top tier security teams works is different, so they don't exactly does not mean they have to follow the certain rule. Sorry, certain rule of the land to manage certain things. But yeah, so it may be possible that they had some issues with that they were not able to bypass it. So they made it a law that this is has to be reduced in this particular. Yeah. But I am not completely aware what is the algorithm that could be there. Uh, that was, I've not gone deeper into that particular case. So for it, probably I'll look into that and I'll get back. I'll post it in the WhatsApp group. What exactly is it?
Ernest, I would like to share one of our story. Uh, so, Kalki, we have a training organization. We do have a consulting firm where we place our students in US job market. We also do have a solution part. You can check the kalki.com. So we used to work with a, financial company, specifically the health insurance and like automobile insurance company based out of Nigeria. So they got fined from Nigerian and African some security governing organizations, and then they done some measurement, and every year they are charging by Azure Microsoft sorry, every month $18,000. Now question is, while they are setting up their infrastructure, they are not aware because those information was not publicly available. And there's no especially some countries, not all, like Europe, they have a GDPR, but still they have a localized rules and regulation as well, governing body as well. Those, so the rule says though, and that was in a very small line, it was mentioned somewhere that that particular health insurance company, sorry, this insurance company, their data should be stored only in African country, that in Nigeria. It cannot stay more than one day beyond the border. So what these people are outcome like they thought. So in that time, the Azure, they don't have any service or data center in Nigeria. So they are storing the data on local, then transferring the data on South Africa's data center, and then before the day end, again they're downloading all the data from South Africa to Nigeria. So so it was charging specifically the internet using charge, like how much the data is flowing, and they are $80,000 per month they was charged by Azure. We set up their own dedicated you know like renting some rack, and we set up their own dedicated uh, you know private cloud kind of stuff on their Nigeria, and this problem resolved. Now question is why this problem first of all appeared, because while some we are assuming some good company they establish or create those infrastructure, but while they are creating this infrastructure, those policies was not at all either overlooked, mostly it was not mentioned in the first place. And while they this governing body knock this particular company that hey, you are violating the rules, and then you need to do something like that, that is a very strict conversation and confidential conversation between governing body and this particular company. So it is very hard from other third party company like us or any other, until unless they are becoming a part of the project, it is very hard why and which particular rules and regulation was violated. Now there is a thing, after a certain thing they publish some of those news, but not all. Most of the time they whatever news they are going to like do the press release, that is not actually the reason. Most of the time,
And,
based on my
and so,
experience,
okay.
uh, they hide the actual reason because it to remove the panic, public panic, and somehow show some irrelevant things which public they don't bother about. Yeah, understand. Please go ahead.
And so basically, I'm trying to also look at it from the forensic part, from the forensics aspect of things. That in the sense that what guarantee do they have that as much as they're storing that data for that agreed or expected period of time, that it is actually deprecated, or for the lack of a better word, like disposed of, or what are the chances that that data is being migrated to a different a region and then being sold, so to say, just like Facebook is doing? Although, of course, there's always this propaganda that Facebook is not
See,
selling data, yet they are.
whatever company are selling, telling that they are doing the encryption and they cannot have the access because it is endpoint encrypted, and it is your device ID is the encryption key, so you can only decrypt it through the device ID only, or device 80 to 90% is just telling to remove some of the responsibility. Because if you are not telling that they are encrypted and the data is not storing, now tomorrow something's happen or some crime happen with your inside your platform, and some third party country or any other country, if they ask for evidence, you are like legally liable to provide those information. So this is the most easiest way to just shut all of these inquiries, that my all of the data is encrypted, right? This is a point
Yes.
one. So this is very easy way that as a developer, or even I am the owner of WhatsApp, but I cannot see my end-to-end people chat because it is encrypted. But there are but 99% of company, they that is a kind of lie.
Yeah.
And
So, but when it comes to WhatsApp, there's still the metadata is available to the government whenever there's a crime occur out there. They can still access the metadata, meaning which number sent what data, what kind
yes,
of a data. They will not be able to look at the data. But I just went through with the Apple component out there, advanced encryption process standard out there. So data advanced data production, where it is completely blocking out. So previously, for instance, when you're having your Google Drive and everything, it is encrypted. So meaning a third party will not be able to have access to it, but Google will be able to look at the data because they want to harvest the data for their own
data.
reasons for that, yeah,
And also
thing out
they
there.
use those data to train their engines and search engines and AI engines as
Yes.
well. and that's the reason
Yes.
you can see the ad, how whatever you are searching somewhere, you will see in the Facebook you are seeing the same thing, the ad. Now that is the biggest reason US always tried.
So meaning that in short, they just wanted to cut out the middleman. They just wanted to directly have access to the data.
Now
Yes. So when
previously.
the Apple came up, just one second, man, I'll just clear off his earlier doubt.
Mm,
So the Apple came up with that advanced encryption that proved that Apple will not have any access to the data at all. So if there's any crime or anything, they want to look at the iCloud data, they will not be able to do that part. Okay. So now the UK government wanted to have a backdoor into that, meaning even they have need, even though that encryption is there, there should be some mechanism for them to look at that information if there is a requirement. For instance, there is an cyber crime or terrorist activity that is there. So now for that reason, they told, okay, we'll not be able to do backdoors. So we'll remove the that particular encryption protection for UK users completely. So that is how they've gone to it. Okay. So they told they were not going to bring backdoor into that part. That's the story behind that. Yeah, go ahead, man. Sorry to cut
No,
you off.
no, that's fine. What else? And that is the biggest reason all of the Chinese company, they like including TikTok, they tell that okay, your data is secure, but US government say no, your data is not, our data, people's data is not secure, because you are part of the government, and your all of the data is you have to store uh, as based on their country's rules to submit to the government. So that is the fight between US government and TikTok and their parent companies. So data privacy is very deep thing. Previously, this data was sold in the black market, and you can, there is this the dark web. You can, there is a tools called, I forgot the name. You can search that your information is available on the dark web or not. So previously, those big companies, they also sell this to the middleman. But nowadays, as the ad become a primary earning source for many companies, so specifically the big companies, normally they don't sell. I think they used to train their engines and AIs, so by which they can provide or very granular level of ad. But protections, it's very uh, ideologically, I don't know. Whatever they are stealing and whatever what is actually going under the hood or behind the curtain, mostly that is not true in my point of view. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you could be correct because let's be honest, data once it is created, it's never really destroyed. It is simply just stored somewhere. So yeah, I think that's where my thought process was, because you can never really get rid of data because it has been there. Just like as Mr. Kartik was saying, that the metadata, so long as it exists, there's always a way of having access to it.
Now my thought is like all of these organizations, they are providing you to store your data freely, right? Now without now they are not doing a charity, they are doing the business. So why they are providing this amount of data storage unit freely? Because they are utilizing those data some in on other means.
Yeah, so they're telling us it's for free, yet they're really selling it. So it's a win for them.
Maybe not selling, maybe they are utilizing those things, because previously those selling things happen while like we can see the like 2 years or 5 years before the scam call, cold call and other stuff, right? You apply from credit card, and next very few days later you will find that too many scam call is coming to your mobile. So this is like a data selling things, or PI data selling things specifically. But nowadays, it is more profitable if you train your AI or your ad engine, so you can understand this particular people or a person's behavior on internet, and based on that behavior, you can showcase more ad on them, dedicated ad. So in that way, it is more profitable for them. So maybe they are not right now like nowadays it is improve some other aspects, Instead of selling, they can utilize those data to understand more about and train their AI accordingly. Specifically, the ad AI.
Yeah, and thank you for touching on that, because I was actually coming to this follow-up question that I need to ask Mr. Karthik. So my other question is that since now they've removed this barrier, what are the chances of okay, not really the chances. What guarantee does Apple have that probably their IP will not really, some of the parts of it will not be utilized or stolen, so to say? Because I want to believe that if they remove that, then they're giving leeway to a lot of things in terms of the IP. Because I don't know if I'm mistaken, I stand to be corrected. There are certain elements of Apple that rely on Samsung and other distributors or produce manufacturers, because Apple is not really 100% Apple as it is the other parts of it and other components in their devices that require other manufacturers. So my question would be, does it mean that Apple in itself, its IP is compromised, or something like that, way beyond just the data, the user data? I'm just concerned about that.
So here it's basically about the data that is getting stored in the iCloud. So there's not going to be much information out there. The way the Apple devices are designed, it is one of the most difficult to test from security perspective, because they keep on changing the security posture, and the way they design the hardware is also such that, right? So even the data is never stored in plain text in the mobile. It is always encrypted. It is encrypted till the point it is getting processed. Just before it is being processed, the data get decrypted. After again process, it gets encrypted again. And there's a lot of things that happens. There are dedicated chip for in the iPhone for just for encryption alone. So that is one of the reasons why you see all the senior level management in any organization are given iPhone. It's not because it is a good quality, it shows the status or anything. No, it's mainly because it is much more secure compared to any Android devices, right? So Samsung is good. So, but again, Samsung is the higher end devices are the one. The lower end devices are not going to work. So that is exactly the reason why we see ThinkPads and MacBooks only in the or corporate level, whenever there is a manager level laptops, because these two devices will have additional hardwares and way designed is for providing that protection of that. Okay. So the IP, even though they may be using third-party component, there is a lot of very few things that are shared. I think again, when they're sharing, I think one thing we have to be more concerned, not worried from what Samsung is going to pay then, because Google is paying about $5 billion to Apple to use Google as a default search engine on iPhone. So we have to be worried at that point, what information is Google is collecting and things like that. Right? Google is very good at selecting. They are very good at analyzing. I'll just give you a simple example how good this data analytics will be that when they collect information and things like that. I have not searched when my kid was born. 2 weeks before the kid is born, I'm getting ads related to diapers, newborn baby ads. I never searched for anything and never done anything, and they're still able to get that information. Uh, So that is how they're good it can be. So Google is Samsung yes collects information, but it's not going to be that important. Okay. I did my master's project on how do you obfuscate Google search, how to make your Google search profiling of you to be less accurate. And I collected about 10 to 15 people search history for about 15 days. It's not long, just 15 days. Amount of information you can derive a profile can be taken out of. You collect your own search engine request, whatever you're doing, right? We can easily tell what is your food pattern, what is your dressing pattern, where do you stay, and a lot of other things can be done just by 15 days. And think about you've been using Google for more than a decade. They will know more about you than you knowing about yourself, right? So that's how it works. So I think the only way out is not using smartphones or any of the apps that are there, right? Everything is collected. Even the way you're browsing, your browser is maximized. They can tell which laptop you're using because every laptop, the pixel that is there is varying, right? If they have a right, they've designed the website right, they will know whether you're using a 43-inch monitor or using a 27-inch monitor or using a laptop, Windows laptop or a Mac laptop because the screen size is different. They can get a lot more information on that, right? So it's yeah, unfortunately, can't do anything about that. But here again, the thing is that they don't want to get involved in that. But if you have seen Snowden documentary, you will understand there's a lot about Prism and other things. That different ways the top tier security teams are able to get information. So you don't. It is we don't know how exactly it goes. Right. So because if it is something is that secure, they'll always find a way to insecure it. What is it preventing them from putting in hiring an agent and putting it as a developer in the Apple company to code a build into a backdoor into that without their knowledge. Right. They'll get him out, get him, train him, or they can, onboard one of the engineers there to put a backdoor. Right. Even the company may be telling that no, we don't support. But in the background that could happen out there, right? And that happens a lot, right?
Okay,
That is why
I
so
think
much code. Yeah, I think we
yeah.
can stop this con. We can have it. I think probably some other time,
Yeah.
deeper into this. Not, but I think if we are going further now, we are Debasis and SaaS class. We are actually taking.
Yeah.
So,
Anes, we'll get back to you
Yeah.
with this.
No. Thank you. I can see that we could be more elaborate. So yeah, I think my questions have been answered.
Okay. So thank you everyone. So yeah, Mr. Debashish, we can start our today's DevOps session. So thank you for waiting for this much time. So Debashish, are you?
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning to every one of you. It is very difficult for me to start after this lovely session from Mr. Karthik. I hope you can hear me clear and loud. And we will start the session for DevOps. I will continue from where we have left on AWS. The previous session we had 2 sessions earlier, and on the last session we couldn't complete because of the paucity of the time. Okay, so we will do that. Let me make my camera on. And I will shift over to the screen. I don't know what's the matter. Okay, let me proceed without this camera. I don't know what happens whenever I start this recording. The camera doesn't work. Okay, I think the camera is working right now. So let me go to my screen. We have done up to this portion, we have learned about all the various services of AWS. We will continue with the Amazon VPC. For those who have not attended the last 2 sessions, please I will request them to access the website, our site, and get hold of those recording. We will start with VPC over there. So, Amazon virtual private cloud, Amazon VPC, if you have gone through the structure of the age and how globally AWS will distribute its data centers, so you will find that VPC being the a very important contributor or the network element for AWS to create that particular, to get into that particular region. So a region uh, will be starting with a VPC, and VPC will be complemented with the subnets. The subnets are for the data centers, and those data centers are basically, you come down through the VPC, you get into the VPC of a region. For each of those, the entry point to any region, whether it's Mumbai or Ohio or Virginia, you will enter through this VPC over the edge location, and through that VPC, you will end up with the subnets. Subnets will take you to the data centers where your AWS resources will be hosted, whether you whether you say EC2 or load balancer or your S3 buckets, whatever it is there, it will be there hosted. Okay. So VPCs can communicate with each other across accounts, availability zones, AWS regions. So basically, are you being able to see the screen, or shall I make it full screen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we can see.
visible.
Okay, great. Now, is it more visible?
Yes, it's visible, sir.
So you see, you get into that region and you can use the VPC through the subnet in the availability zone. So you have the availability zones. You have the availability zones. So you are entering into the cloud. Say this is a particular region, say Ohio. So you are getting it from somewhere. Okay, you are getting inside it, and you are getting to be validated over the VPC of Ohio. Okay, and this Ohio will be divided into several availability zones. So maybe 6 availability zones will be there. 6 availability zones. So these availability zones are nothing but your availability zone of that particular region. So is AZ1, A, 1B, 1C, and up to whatever, A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah. So on this is the subnet or the data center. So subnet is your a networking element within the VPC. So there will be one default VPC each region. Okay, one default. And how many default subnets will be there for that region? Let's say for Ohio, I'm taking an example of Ohio. So for each availability zone, there will be one default subnet. So how many subnets will be there for defining the entire region of Ohio?
6.
6, definitely. 6 default. Now the question is, can you create your additional VPCs, your own private VPC that you want to do for your organization, as well as definitely you will go for subnets. Can you do that? Yes. You can define your own VPC and your own architecture of your network dedicated to your organization maybe. Okay. So, but these are the default. This is default for your account. You can anytime use them without changing it. Do not remove the default VPCs or the subnets, because then your network becomes very unstable. So even if you are creating your own VPC and your subnets, but do not tamper with this default architecture. This diagram shows one possible configuration where within region 1, network traffic is shared between a VPC in the availability zone 1 and a VPC in availability zone 2. Okay. The same architecture is shown for. So between these two regions, you can share your resources. You have to communicate between these two VPCs. So you could have created one of your EC2 instance over in a particular availability zone in this particular VPC of this region 1, and another in another availability zone of the same region. So they will be easily communicated because they are in the part of the same network infrastructure. Similar is the case of region 2, and you can also, between the regions, you can also distribute your resources, and you can communicate between those resources as well. That is possible. Okay. Any questions? Now, coming to AWS Elastic Beanstalk, how many developers are there in this group? I mean, in this session? Are there any application developers or web developers? No, right? Oh, okay. Even if you are there, maybe you are not speaking out, but you
I
see,
think two people raise their hand, Akshat and Ernest.
okay, Ernest. So Ernest, I know. What about Akshat? Do you have any question of why you should be using AWS Elastic Beanstalk? Let's say you have been given a situation where you are migrating your applications from your on-premise or from your data center over to the cloud. What will you need to do? Isn't it too much of an ask on you to deploy all your applications with the environment that the main hurdle is your environment on which your application is ported? You are transporting to a different platform over the cloud. So you have to configure, you have to build the entire infrastructure over the cloud, which is in sync with the current infrastructure that you are using in your legacy application or your current application. And then you have to migrate the one from one platform to the cloud. And that takes a whole lot of effort. And you will do lots of, there can be, while in the migrating process, the main issue is there is a huge loss of data without your knowledge. When you switch over the traffic from your old legacy system to the cloud, you will see your traffic is not being able to use the same application that used to be when they used in the on-premise or on the data center, because your migration was not uh, foolproof. You have missed out something, mostly the data. What you do in this case, AWS has come up with a solution for the developers or the companies who want to migrate from their old infrastructure over to the cloud. So there is the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. This Beanstalk is basically a set of a service provided by AWS, where you will just have to upload, there is a console available. There is a very, very user-friendly console available for AWS Beanstalk. Okay, like in an AWS, when you use the AWS console for creating your resources, similarly, you can have an Elastic Beanstalk front end or you know, an interface, a graphical user interface for provided by AWS, which is very user friendly. And over that, whenever you will implement, that is, you are going to migrate your applications and the environment configurations, whatever the environment configuration is the most important, you will simply upload that into the Elastic Beanstalk. You do not need to do all this networking and the you don't have to provision any infrastructure over the cloud based on what your application needs, what your environment needs. You just have to upload your application and you have to answer few queries from the Elastic Beanstalk front end. Just you have to apply, or just you have to provide those answers. Once your answers are provided, you have completed this form template. Okay, what will, based on the necessity of the environment and it can be a Java code, it can be a .NET, it can be a PHP, it can be Python, whatever sort of application, it can be a Go, very modern application. However, that needs to be migrated. So you see, it will be on this. You just upload it and forget. What will happen? Elastic Beanstalk is having enough intelligence to understand the environment and the configuration, and it will accordingly match up, or whatever it is, it will provision the required resources, whether it will need one EC2 instance server or it will need 4, whether it will need auto scaling and elastic load balancer. All this will be provisioned automatically by the Elastic Beanstalk. You don't have to take care of anything. It will match up. It will match against your application and the environment, and it will build. So what happens today? There is 10,000 requests coming to your application. Tomorrow it can be 1 million requests within a within fraction of seconds. It can scale up. So you don't have to worry because you have given all the tasks to Elastic Beanstalk. What will it do? It will scale up such that your 1 million queries per second can be easily handled by your application, whether it needs to implement the elastic load balancer to distribute your traffic within it can horizontally upscale the EC2 instances according to the requirement. And whenever the load decreases, it will automatically descale. Okay, such that you do not block the resources over the cloud, and therefore you do not need to you do not need to worry about for your billing, because if you are not using a resource, you will not be billed. But if you are unnecessarily running those resources which are not required, then you will be billed for that, definitely. But here Beanstalk will take care of that, automatically scaling up, automatically scaling down. It depends on the traffic and the application requirement. Is that clear? So Elastic Beanstalk is a service for deploying and scaling web applications and services. Okay, web applications and services along with it. Upload your code and Elastic Beanstalk will automatically handle the deployment from capacity provisioning, load balancing, and auto scaling to application health monitoring. So it will also give you a feedback of how your health, how is your application performing over the architecture. Any questions? There is another beautiful service from AWS, which is Cloud Formation. Now, generally, after this, the next topic that is in our roadmap is the Terraform. Okay, Terraform is a fantastic tool for provisioning all the resources over the cloud. It is a cloud agnostic tool. We will discuss that. But over the cloud, over the AWS, you will have a cloud formation. So cloud formation for you have the cloud formation called CF for AWS. You have Azure Resource Manager for, or you can say Bicep. The concepts are the same. So you learn one cloud architecture or one cloud. You have the knowledge base of one learning one cloud, and you know all of them because the same things apply to all the different. So it will be for Azure. It will be for Azure, and for Google Cloud Deployment Manager. That is same as a function of CF or an ARM Bicep. On the Google Cloud, you have a Google Cloud Deployment Manager, which is on GCP. They function the same. That is, these are cloud provisioning services. This is called service. A service of AWS called CloudFormation is available to speed up cloud provisioning with infrastructure as a code. So IaaC. So it will provide you with, the templates. You just need to fill up the template with the parameters of what you provision. So you will code the infrastructure. Basically, you are coding the infrastructure. So that code or that template, if you are not being able to use the cloud console or the AWS console, if it is AWS console, you will directly use the help of the GUI to create a template and apply that template on the cloud. It will provision the resources, whether it is S3 bucket or EC2 instance or elastic load balancer, or maybe EBS, or so many other things. Maybe IAM user. Okay, so all the resources that you can think of can be applied through the templates. And if you have the templates from outside the AWS console, you will use the AWS CLI commands programmatically to be able to provision the resources. But so you need to know about AWS CLI on that. But these are not that simple commands to do. Okay. Yeah, this is simple because you are directly, you are not using any command line interface. So we will learn Terraform. And this is universally accepted because if you are implementing AWS CloudFormation, you are only restricted over the cloud of AWS. If you are using Bicep, you are restricted on Azure. If you are using Deployment Manager of Google Cloud, then you are restricted over GCP. But whereas if you use Terraform to provision the resources over the cloud, it is cloud agnostic. Cloud agnostic. It is not dependent on whichever clouds. It will have the plugins. We will discuss about when we learn about Terraform. So you will apply the template as the code. You will have IaaC. Then you can produce this resource like Amazon S3. You can use the cloud formation, the template that whatever IaaC you have the template, you put it on the cloud formation service. can use via the browser console, or you can use command line tools of APIs. So it is the AWS CLI, either through the console or through the CLI. You can apply it, and those templates will help you to provision. Output is you are provisioning some resources over the cloud. Is that portion clear? More or less the idea. What is cloud formation? Any question? And there is another resource called, or a service, better to say a service, is AWS IAM. Now, whenever this is based on the, the security, rule-based access control, RBAC. This is the security policy of any proven and tested software. That means on the cloud, which is a public place, public domain, you need to implement your users with some certain policies. And that is what you do through an AWS IAM service, Identity and Access Management. You will not allow the resources. That is, a thumb rule is whenever you create a user, IAM user, what is the thumb rule? Generally, what is the policy for any company or for any platform? Is to provide the minimum privilege.
Minimum least privilege, principle of
Least privilege, principle of least privilege. Very good. Principle of least privilege. Principle of least privilege. That is always, for the security reasons. Then you apply the policies gradually. You apply some policies over it. Basically, you can code the policies over into the user. So you can, let's say a user is a developer. He is a developer. You are not giving any administrative privilege to this particular user. Okay, but this user will be working over the cloud, and let's say the cloud is AWS cloud. Okay, and the user would be using serverless processing, serverless something. So there it needs to use the Lambda function, the Lambda cloud function, okay, of AWS. For that, I need some create function ability to be assigned to this particular user. So this create function, if not given to this Lambda to be able to use this Lambda function, then it will encounter an error saying access denied. So what you do, you are coding that policy into the user, into that IAM. So you will use a statement. Okay, that statement, whatever the version is, let the version be anything. The statement says that it's a statement is an array or collection. It's a collection. Collection is a number of properties you are putting in. It's a sort of, a class or an object. So you are saying create function is the functionality. What is that functionality? What you are doing is the effect is to allow. What do you want to allow? Which actions? You want to give this particular create function privilege to use the function Lambda. Okay, of Lambda is the key and create function is the value. So you are assigning a create function privilege to use this particular Lambda services of AWS to this particular user. And what is the resource? So this user will be assigned with a policy of accessing all the resources which can be affected by this lambda create function. Star means this star means all. So with a simple statement like this, you are able to give a policy to this particular user, and you do not need to worry about this. You can graphically do it, or you can do it if you are doing through AWS CLI, which is a command line interface. You are doing it programmatically, as I told you. You will be using this sort of a policy, or else if you are using AWS console, you will be using IAM access management, that service console, and you can provide that lambda function or the create function utility to this particular user. So basically, who the workforce users and workloads with IAM through this particular service. This is a service. Okay. Who can access what is what this service provides. This IAM service will provide. Basically, when you are working in an organization, you will never be allowed to access root user. Root user is the default user for any account, but you will not be allowed to be able to access. Root is the admin user, right? So there can be only one admin, or the cloud architect or the cloud admin who will be accessing the root user, but you will be given an IAM. You will be created as an IAM user, and you will be accessing an account through this IAM user. Okay, because this is a limited privilege provided to you, and very naturally. Any question? Core AWS service that helps you control access to resources. Okay, so resources are the entities you create in AWS, like S3 bucket or object, any object. Users attempt to perform actions on these resources, like you are using the S3 bucket. You are being able to, you have a privilege to create a bucket, or do you? Is based on what is the privilege, what is the policy, whether the creating of a S3 bucket is within the policy of that IAM user or not. Authorization to perform an action depends on a policy. So it will always consult your policy. Now, I thought maybe instead of going through, yeah, we are towards the end of our AWS session, because we will switch over to Terraform. But before that, I will quickly do some hands-on on, let's create an EC2 service, or let's create an EC2 instance quickly, and we will see how much small time we will need to create one server. Okay, and we can access that server from outside. Let us do that. Okay, so we will switch over to this screen. We are going to our AWS Management Console. Sign in. So what I am signing into? I am signing in not as a root user. I am signing into my account, which is an account created over the cloud, and an alias name has been given. So account basically is a 12-digit number. Okay, but generally I will not remember the number, so I have given an alias. So a name is more important for me to remember. And the IAM user. So I am using an IAM user. Okay, and I'm not using any root, and I'm signing in. So basically, this IAM user has been given some policies, some privileges, it has been granted with some access permissions, policies. So I have to be within that framework. Okay, so I'm getting this. This is the my all the services are available to on this AWS console. But I will now go to EC2 service. This is a service as in the first day of AWS. On the previous session, we have discussed about the various services through a diagram, right? So I will go. I have logged into a particular region. I have gone to a particular. I can easily change over from. I'm now right now in a Singapore region, and the Singapore region is AP Southeast 1. AP is Asia Pacific. You could be going to. It's not necessary that you would be only restricted if you are in India and you say that I can only use my India data centers like Mumbai. Okay, it is not that. You can switch over and work in any part, so there is no restriction. So this entire world is a global village. You are a member of that village. Okay, so let's say I'm in Singapore, AP Southeast 1, and definitely that Singapore region, this Singapore region will have, there are availability zones. Okay, and each availability zone will have one, what is that? Default.
VPC.
So no, the region will have a default VPC. My region is Asia Pacific, Singapore. So that will have a default VPC. But under the VPC, we have the availability zones. And under the availability zones, you know, they have created, because Singapore is not a big region. So 3 data centers or availability zones is quite enough. And they have given AP Southeast 1A, 1B, 1C. You can enable additional zones. If you want, you can create your zones. That is also a big facility. Okay. If you have lots of users, lots of resources, and you want to distribute those resources over additional data centers, each data center will be represented through, or you will reach this data center through what? Your subnet. So there will be one subnet in this availability zone 1A, one subnet in 1B, and one default subnet in 1C. Is that clear? Now, where I'm going to create my resource, is it over the region? Yes, definitely on the region, but in particularly into one availability zone, isn't it? I have to create a resource in a particular data center, and that is the data center we are going to see. So having said that, we are going to go to the EC2 dashboard. And we can go to the instances. Right now, I have no instances created in our Singapore region. What I can do, quickly launch an instance. You can see there is this button. So you go quickly launch an instance. I'm not going to the details of that. That is a scope. I'm limited with that scope. But that is definitely, I go in lots of details in my main courses. So let us create this particular, I'm giving it a name. Let's say internship, or better to say DevOps EC2. Any name is up to you. Then any server will have to have one operating system, right? So we can do quickly within the quick start. You can select any of the servers or any of the OSs. So I will go for Ubuntu. That is the OS, the image, and that is called the AMI, Amazon Machine Image. we have discussed about this machine image. It is the entire operating system is packaged as an image and available within the AWS repository or registry. It is like it's sort of a Docker image. And in fact, it is a Docker image. Okay. So the entire application of an operating system called Ubuntu is packed within, and the version is 24.04 LTS, long-term support. And this is free tier eligible. Anyway, that is out of my discussion. So I have selected this particular operating system. And so this is so any resource that you use on an AWS or any cloud will have a resource ID, a unique ID is there. Now I will select the instance type. What are the 5 things that are needed to define your EC2 instance? Can anybody help me? What are the 5 things that are needed to create a server? Mandatory parameters. One is,
What is the storage that you need?
okay, I will come to that. So the first one is the operating system, the AMI.
Yes.
Without an operating system, I cannot create one server. I can create a server, but that is only a dumb box. I need an operating system. Like if I go for a laptop, I need at least a Windows or a Mac to be there to start the operational part of it. What is the next one? So I'm building a server, right? So I'm building a server. So I have put in the OS. What is other things that are needed? I have to define the size of the server. That is whether it will be 1 CPU or 2 CPU or 5 CPU or 16 CPU. What will be the internal memory? What is the number of what is the GB internal memory? So all this. So that will be called instance type. The size, or basically you can say the make of the server. What is the third one? The third one is, the authentication, the security part, the authentication. I don't know why my pen is not that working good, but anyway, I have to manage authentication and authorization. This is the security part for the access. So for authentication, what we need to have? Anyone? I will attach a key pair, a token. Key pair is nothing but a token, a security token, access token for authentication. And for authorization, I will need to attach a security group or a firewall. Like just before my class in the cybersecurity, you were listening to a lot of things like UFW, which is a firewall. Firewall is like you are building a house, okay, and then you are fencing it. That fencing is called a firewall, so that no trespassers can trespass into your house. So you are setting up some rules, right? You are setting up some rules. So those rules will prevent any traffic. Without obeying this rule, it is not possible to get inside your server. This is your server. You are protecting this server with this. First level is the key pair authentication. Second level is the authorization with the security group. And the last one, tell me. These are the mandatory things that you need. And the last one should be your subnet. That is in which availability zone or which data center you are going to create this resource, right? So you have your OS, you have your the make, the model, you have the key pair, you have the rules for authorization, and now you have the networking part. Now you will say, how do I go to subnet without the VPC? Very good question. So your VPC is hidden within the security group. You cannot create a security group without a VPC. So when you create or select a security group, that means your VPC is already designed or designated. Okay. So you are creating this in the region Singapore. So whenever you are assigning this security group, that means you are assigning the default VPC of Singapore with that security group. So if that is there, so therefore the one thing is left is the subnet. So you will assign the subnet. Any question? Oh, I should have. Okay. I will just make it off. Now, so instance type, that is one mandatory parameter. I have said that I will use a very small machine, micro machine, a one vCPU and 1 GB of memory. That is more than enough for me right at this stage. Because see, even if it is a very small, but it's a very powerful machine. Even if it is a very small machine, even that, because on a Ubuntu Linux, one CPU, 1 GB memory is also a good machine. But you can select higher models as well. Then the key pair, the authentication. I can create a new key pair. I will create a key pair. I will give it a name. I will give it a name as internship. Simple name of the key pair. I am using an encryption key logic of RSA, and I am giving it a PPK because I'm using a Windows machine and I don't want to convert the PEM, because generally in my original the long-term classes, I generally go through PEM because PEM is the most popular format. Okay, but I am, for the time being, as a shortcut, I am downloading the PPK. This, when I say create key pair, this is to be used with putty. When I say create key pair, it will download, it will create a key pair and download it to my Windows downloads folder. That is what I need to handshake with my server. So you can see that internship.ppk, this file has been downloaded. If you go there, you will see internship.ppk. This is this key I will be using when I will be connecting my laptop, my Windows, to the EC2 instance on the cloud. Okay. And I've come back to my console. So my key pair has been attached. So this server knows or has a key pair attached to it, this server. And then the VPC is by the default, and the subnet I do not want to specify. I can edit and specify which particular subnet I want, whether I want it AP Southeast 1A, AP Southeast 1B, or AP Southeast 1C, one of the data centers. But I leave it on AWS to select it for me. And then the public IP will be automatically assigned, enabled, randomly generated. I will now the fourth part, which is the firewall security group. I will select a security group. Already I have created one. I will just attach it. So I will select one security group. Say, I will say launch wizard 3. These are nothing but a set of rules. Those rules, like you are connecting through SSH. you are connecting to the SSH. So you are allowing your network connection. So your Windows or laptop is connecting to this server EC2 over SSH. Can anybody tell me what is the port? SSH is a
22.
protocol. Sorry,
22.
22. Very good. So we see that that SSH service is running on a listening on a port on the server. The port number is 22. That service is SSHD as a daemon. It is running as we create the server. Okay. And we have to use an SSH connection, and we will use that key. Which key? That internship .ppk. We will use that key to handshake with that internship key, which is already installed over here in the EC2 instance. When they match, the encryption matches, then there will be a handshaking. You will handshake. That means you are allowed to get inside this particular that we are going to see. But right now, and also I have given a rule. So if I do not set this rule into my security group, even though there is the internship PPK, I will not be allowed, because the first level will pass because you have the matching authentication, but the second level, which is authorization, will fail. So it will fail to connect. Okay. So I have at least one rule saying within the security group saying that if there is any traffic coming as with a SSH connection, let it be allowed. Therefore, it will go. And as somebody was saying about the EBS, elastic block storage, yes, you have to give at least some storage. And I'm using a config minimum storage of 8 GB and GP3. GP3 is the SSD, general purpose SSD. SSD is solid state device, which is an optical hard drive, you can say. So basically, I'm attaching a storage with that. And a number of instances, yes, you can review the summary. Everything is fine. I will quickly go and launch the instance because I think our time is also getting up. Fine. See, how much time did it take? It took not even 30 seconds. Can you imagine earlier days, it used to take 7 days, 15 days, even a month to get a big machine installed. And here you have done a big machine installed within no time. That is the beauty. So you go back to your instances and see that there is your instance is running. Your instance is by the name DevOps EC2. Your instance is having that instance ID. Your instance state is running. The instance type is T2 micro. Okay. You have created, I mean, I have not selected this, but this was selected automatically from AWS. AWS has given me this one. So I have created on the AP Southeast 1A. And this is the public DNS because a public IP address has been generated. See, this is not going to change, but this is going to change after each and every shutdown and startup. Randomly a public IP for the security reason, because from outside you are going to attach or to connect to your EC2 instance over the IP address, public IP address. I will show you that. So DNS name is about that public IP v4 DNS. You see, you have used a security group called Launch Wizard 3, and you have used the key name as internship. Fine. I have created my server. So what I will do, I will copy this because it is running, but I need to access this. How will I? I will use my PuTTY. I have copied this IP address. I will go to my PuTTY. PuTTY is a software. So I will do one thing. I will go over here, or I can create one session. Say, let's say DevOps. Okay, internship. Let me say that this is the session, and I will give the host name, the IP address. The port should be 22 because it is going to connect over SSH. I will save the session. So DevOps internship is my session. Okay, but it is not yet over. I have to, let's say, I can change my window title. I'm saying my window title is test EC2, whatever it is, or just simply EC2. And I don't want to change the colors and everything. I could do that. But here in the connection, I will go and say I want to keep alive. So I will send a heartbeat within every 5 seconds. I will send a heartbeat saying my terminal or my session should be kept alive. I am alive. It is screaming. Data, auto login. I want to auto login with a username Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the username of this Ubuntu server. And then I will go to SSH and I will go to authentication, and I will go to the credentials. I will give the private key file for authentication. You know, I have kept it in my, where is my file? File is in my downloads folder. Remember, we have downloaded or created this internship.ppk. I select this. I will open this. So this is, I have mentioned that this is the key file. And I will say open it. No, not open. I will save the session. I will save the session and then I will open it. And you see, it is asking me to accept. The handshaking has been done. I can make it a bit bigger. Can you see? I have logged in. And if you say host name CTL, what is the host name? 172.31.31.70. Can you check? It is 172.31.31.70. You see, this is the private IP address. This is not going to change. This is the actual IP address of your server. This is matching 172.31.31.70, 172.31.31.70, and it is an Ubuntu machine 24.04 LTS. All this information is available to me. That means I have successfully connected to my EC2 instance. I can use LL and I can show you if I go to .ssh. Okay, and if you see there is an authorized key, I will go to authorized keys. These are Linux commands, and you will see the internship. This is the encrypted key. This is the encrypted key, and the encryption is following the SSH RSA logic, and the name of the key is internship. So it matched from outside. You see, and also you can see that. Are you being able to see the screen? Because I find that my network
Yes,
is
visible.
it is still visible. Okay, very good. Because I am getting a message that my network quality is poor. Anyway. Okay, you can anytime change the settings. You can go there and you can say appearance. You will say it is too small. I'm saying 16 and bold and OK. I will apply. Can you see now it has a bit bigger in size? So sudo systemctl status of SSH. Can you see that your SSH is active and running? And this is running on port. Which port? Somebody told me it is 22 because SSH works on 22. And therefore your putty, through your putty, you were able to actually what command did you give? Actually, the command that you have given, if you are using git bash on your terminal, or if your Mac terminal, you will say a command like ssh -i. What was the name of the key? You will say internship dot. Here you cannot use ptk. You have to use pem. Anyway, that is fine. SSH, and then you say Ubuntu at the rate of your, will you give a public IP address or private IP address? You will always give the public IP address. So you will give this particular public IP address. So this is the internal command. If you know the SSH command, this is the command that is going to help you to go and connect to your EC2 instance. Okay. Do you have any questions? So since I do not have enough time to start Terraform, I thought I could start Terraform today, but it's okay. It's all in our hands, so it doesn't matter. But I did not wanted to interrupt into that very interesting discussion that was happening in cybersecurity. So that was very, very useful, and you should get benefited out of that. So I didn't disturb it. Doesn't matter. It is in our hands. If it is instead of 8 sessions, I need 9 sessions or 10 sessions, we will do that. Don't worry. So we will stop the session over here. I will stop the recording. Thank you very much. And I'm over to.
Thank you, Mr. Devashish.
Yeah. Thank you.
So guys, if you have any last minute question, feel free to ask, or uh, thank you for joining.
The recording and everything will be available in our site, and also I will post the recordings of both cybersecurity and DevOps, whatever little DevOps that you have done today, over the in the WhatsApp group.
And you can anytime you can find those video link in our YouTube channel.